Om Shanti and good morning. It's really very timely, and I'm sure that what all of us together will come today and introspect actually. It's all about introspecting. It's reflecting on something that's been there at the back of our mind, but probably it never came in the forefront because there was always so much to do. And then when times change, it also means we need to bring about a change in our way of thinking, in our way of living, in our ways of working. Because when times change, it also is a signal that there is something we need to prepare ourselves for. And so it's really beautiful that we are together here as heads of all the departments and the staff of a medical college. Very, very important because you are grooming our coming doctors. So, one is all of you all are taking care of the current scenario, the patients, the doctors, the nurses, but also you are grooming our doctors who are going to be there in the healthcare industry within a year or 2 years from now. So, this is absolutely the perfect time to sow the seed of taking care of the mind in the mind of every healer. In the mind of every healer. Because, like Dr. Amarjeet said, when we have all our doctors who come to the Mind Body Medicine conference in Mount Abu, which till 2019 was an annual feature, and I'm sure 2022 it will start again. So, every time we have doctors coming from all over the country, and the one thing that almost everyone says is this should have been taught in medical school. We should have talked about this in medical school so that we would have practiced it right from the beginning of our career. And not that it is something different, it's just that simple lifestyle spiritual principles to take care of the mind. Every individual needs to have these lifestyle principles to take care of the mind. But for a healer, it's all the more important because a healer's mind is not just a healer's mind. A healer's mind influences the vibration of every mind the healer is going to meet through every day, and they are coming in pain. Suppose I'm in the IT industry, then I'm only working with a computer most part of the day. So my mind is only affecting me, my mind and my body. Suppose I'm doing business, I'm in the service industry, then I'm interacting with a lot of people, but those people are all coming in happy minds. They're coming for a holiday or they're coming out for a meal. So there's not so much that my mind will influence them. But who is coming to a doctor? Everyone who is in pain. Not just everyone who is unwell, but also everyone who is in pain. Because when the body is unwell, the mind starts creating anxiety. So each time across a doctor is sitting a person and their family who are emotionally also a little anxious apart from the treatment of the body, anxious about what has happened, what does need to be done, what is going to be the implication of that, what is the financial burden of that, what will it do to my career. There is so much. How will I handle my house? There's lots that's happening that side. And while they are talking to a healer, there are two things that can happen. One, the vibration of the patient and the family can influence the healer, or the vibration of the healer influences the patient and the family. We have also seen in the last couple of years, and we have also seen, especially in the last year, that one we have been talking to a lot of doctors on webinars, especially in the last year also, and many of them say, but when we work so hard, when we risk our life, and there we are standing in a COVID ICU throughout the day, how is it that people can be so rude and disrespectful with us? How is it that people can behave so badly with us? How is it that it's not just a verbal abuse, but sometimes it also shifts into a physical attack? How? How do you expect that we will be able to remain motivated and calm to work in this kind of a scenario? So these are also things that we have to be prepared for in our mind. Because how much ever you try and convey this message to society, keep on telling everybody, nobody really plans to do it when they come on the day to the hospital. But because people at large in society are not taking care of their minds on a daily basis. So, a person who is coming to you in a hospital Now you have to start looking at them from two perspectives. One, physically unwell. So till a few decades back, we could say everybody who was coming into the hospital was physically unwell. I don't think now you can say that they're only physically unwell, because most of us are not emotionally healthy. Most of us are not emotionally healthy. This is something we will need to start seeing once we start putting emotional health as a priority. So, what is emotional health and what is emotionally unwell? Because you have all the departments of physical health, you have all the departments of mental health, emotional health. Who is going to be the doctor who's going to take care of emotional health? In the coming times, we will need all doctors to cover and talk about emotional health. You cannot have a separate specialization for emotional health. We need all doctors to understand emotional health, to radiate emotional health, and to understand and talk about emotional health to their patients. So, what is emotional health? First, let's grade our emotional health today. So, let's put it on a scale of 1 to 10, because emotional health is something that we can share with people only when we start seeing it in ourselves. When we see it in ourselves, it becomes very easy to share it with people. So let's grade our emotional health on a scale of 1 to 10, because like we all know, WHO has put emotional health as one of the pillars of total wellness. Total wellness. So emotional health is there. So what is emotional health? Scale of 1 to 10. If I find myself blaming situations and people for how I'm feeling. First basic criteria. If I find myself blaming people and situations for how I'm feeling. For example, if I find myself blaming situations for how my body is feeling. Sometimes two people sitting in a room and one person has a slight cold and cough. We're talking of before COVID. So if a slight person has slight cold and cough, and by the end of the day, the other person is also sneezing or coughing. So what is our personality? We look at them and say, क्या आपने अपनी खांसी मुझे भी दे दी, आपकी वजह से मुझे भी जुकाम हो गया. And look at the vocabulary. It's like saying आपकी वजह से मुझे जुकाम हो गया. Not taking personal responsibility कि मेरा immunity system कमजोर था इसलिए मैंने infection catch कर ली. The vocabulary matters. The vocabulary matters. Similar happens on the emotional health level. If I believe that my anger, my irritation, my stress, my worries, my hurt is all because of people and situations. And so just check your thoughts. Do you find yourself saying, I'm upset because of them? I'm angry because of them. I'm stressed because of COVID, or I'm worried about the future of next year, which means I'm saying that everything that is happening here, so emotional, this emotional health, I am believing that it is dependent on people and situations, which is not true. Which is not true. But I have lived my life believing that. And because I believed that, I always needed the world to be perfect so that I could be happy. As children in school, we were taught to write an essay, happiest day of your life. I don't know, they mustn't be doing that now, but we used to do it 30 years back. So write on the happiest day of your life. And what did we write that day? We wrote about when very nice things happened outside. This is deep programming. So the happiest day of my life is when something very beautiful happened outside. That's where the coding started happening inside. That for me to be happy, good things have to happen outside. And if good things don't happen outside, then for me to be sad or upset or angry is normal. So, for the last few decades, we have been calling stress, anxiety, anger, fear, worry as normal. In fact, this morning I was having a talk with someone who's working on this, another university in Mumbai, and they said, but we were taught like that, right? And that's where medical science is going to play a very important role, because it is the doctors who will have to change this message into society. We cannot tell people stress is normal. How can we tell the world stress is normal? If we tell them stress is normal, anger is normal, they will continue to keep creating stress and anger every single day. And if they keep creating stress and anger, they will never be happy. Because you can either create stress or you can create anger at any point of time. You can't create them together. So if you're creating unhealthy emotions, you will not be able to create happy feelings. And so if we teach them that it is normal, they allow themselves to create that, they keep creating that on a daily basis, and then when a bigger situation hits, it doesn't remain at the level of stress or worry. It tips to feeling depressed. It tips to feeling depressed. And even then, if we don't heal it, then it tips to a clinical depression. So there is a very thin line to be able to differentiate that this is an emotional health issue and this is a mental health issue. Why are so many mental health issues not being treated? Why people reach up to a stage of contemplating suicide or attempting suicide, and people say, "Arey, achanak aisa kar diya." Nobody commits suicide achanak. Nobody. It's the rarest of rarest things to somebody just suddenly think this morning that I don't want to live anymore. We all know it doesn't happen like that. But why did the person commit suicide or attempt to commit suicide? Undiagnosed depression. Undiagnosed depression. Repeatedly having thoughts of not wanting to live, not wanting to live, and then one day trying it out. But why did they have those thoughts? Why was that depression not diagnosed? Because when they were feeling low and not enthusiastic, many people around them thought this was normal or this was normal. So when they were believed it was normal, then many of them didn't go to a therapist. Today also many are not seeing a doctor. They are not realizing that this is depression. Why? Because we are not in good emotional health. And so we thought feeling low, not feeling like doing this, feeling upset is normal. So that's why for good mental health, we have to prioritize emotional health. We are on very high rise in mental health issues, not just during COVID times, even before COVID. And now we're only talking about how to manage those mental health issues. Important is how to prevent mental health issues, not just manage, prevent mental health issues. And that's where the role of every doctor is going to be important. One, we have very few psychiatrists and psychologists in the country. And second, they will be talking only about mental health. We have to start talking about emotional health. Now, if we believe stress and anger is normal, then you are the best ones to tell us what happens inside our body when we create stress and anger. What happens inside our body? Do our body parameters remain the same? Even as a child in school, if we created stress before an exam, so many children used to experience fever on the day of the exam, either stomach pain, nausea, acidity. All this was happening on the day of the exam. The day the exam is over, बच्चा बिल्कुल ठीक है, the student is absolutely fine. So parents would say ये झूठ बोलता है, ये एग्जाम वाले दिन ही बीमार कैसे हो जाता है सिर्फ, तो ये झूठ बोल रहा है. तो झूठ नहीं बोल रहा था, वो सिर्फ स्ट्रेस क्रिएट कर रहा था, and that stress was having an impact on the body. So if the emotion is impacting the body in an unhealthy manner, why is that emotion being called normal? How can that emotion be called normal? So, the big shift that we need in society is to understand that all these emotions can be labeled as an emotional illness. It's not a physical illness, it's not a mental illness, it's an emotional illness because the mind is not comfortable. The mind is not stable. It shifted from its stable parameter. Like the body test tells us very easily, that blood test gives us that column. This is dark, shifted out of range. Shifted out of range. So emotion also we need to know na, when we going out of range, this is an emotional illness. So when we are calm, we are stable, we are thinking right, we're in the range. But if we start creating, ये क्या हो गया, वैसे क्यों हो गया, इसको क्या होगा, ऐसे कैसे होगा, where are we going? How much are we thinking? And what's the quality of thinking? It's gone out of range. And once it's gone out of range, we are emotionally unwell. So the first thing is, who is the creator of these thoughts and feelings? Again, we've lived believing that people and situations. So just check your vocabulary. Do you ever find yourself saying, I'm angry because of? In fact, just close your eyes right now for 10 seconds. Let's do it right now. See the last time you got angry. Could be this morning, could be yesterday, could be last week. Just what had happened that time. We just need to look at this scene. क्या हुआ, किसकी गलती थी, Let's rewind the scene and then let's look how we reacted. What did I feel? How did I speak? How did I behave? See the whole scene. Very important to do this inner reflection. And while I was reacting, who did I blame for my anger? Who did I blame for my anger? I said गलती उनकी इतनी बड़ी थी, बात ही उन्होंने गलत की थी, and I blamed them for my anger and I endorsed my anger कि गुस्सा तो आना ही था, गुस्सा तो आना ही था. And even some people around me that time, my family and friends said, हाँ गुस्सा तो आना ही था, बात ही इतनी बड़ी थी. So people also endorse my emotional reactions like that. Now, keeping the same scene there, same scene, nothing changes. Their mistake, the situation, everything. Now just look at yourself and see if the same situation had to come this evening, can I respond in another way? Can I respond in another way to the identical situation? So nothing will change outside. The situation, their mistake, the crisis, even if it was a crisis in the hospital, you bring that scene, crisis, nothing changed outside. Could I respond in another way? In a way which would be healthy for my mind? In a way which would be healthy for the minds of the people around me? In a way which would be healthy for the energy of the hospital or the energy of my house or my office? Could I respond a healthier way? Not right and wrong, healthier way, which would have a better effect on my mind and even a healthier effect on my body. And I'm sure you're going to be able to see your response another way. If any of you feel like putting it in the chat, do you think you could respond another way? Yes or no? So just type it out, yes or no. Do you think there is an option of responding another way? Thank you. So we have all yeses. It was a very simple question. And it's not that we're thinking about it now. All of us, after we get angry, no, even especially if you shout at your children or your students or somebody, few hours later, you're going to say like, "Kyo maine gussa kiya? I could have said the same thing in a better manner." So we reflect on it always back. Now this scene has proved two equations right. One, situation was not creating our anger. People's mistake was not creating our anger. People were not creating our anger. If they were creating our anger, then in the same situation again, we would not have an option of choosing another response. So situations and people are not creating our emotions is the first equation that should be taught to every child. We had to be taught this when we were 3 years old. We had to be taught this when we were 3 years old, but we were taught something else. So when we didn't do something right, the parent would sulk at us. And we did something right, the parent would have a big smile. It's from there that the programming started. कि जब हम अच्छे बच्चे होते हैं तो पेरेंट्स खुश हो जाते हैं, जब हम गलती करते हैं तो पेरेंट्स नाराज हो जाते हैं. Then as we grew up, if we did well in school, the smile would get bigger. If we didn't do very well in school, the smile would become smaller and it would even sulk. Deep programming that outside world is controlling the inside world. This is not true. We had to be taught कि अगर आपने गलती की वो आपके लिए गलत है. हमारी खुशी आपकी गलती से नहीं जाने वाली है. अगर आपके मार्क्स कम आए तो वो आपकी परफॉर्मेंस पे असर देगा, हमारी स्टेट ऑफ माइंड पे नहीं. Our role is to discipline you and to advise you. But our happiness and stability doesn't get affected according to your marks. This is what we had to taught. We had to be taught right from when we were 3 years old. Because then we would have just grown up naturally with emotional health. Emotional health doesn't have to be a separate subject. We would have grown up emotionally healthy, understanding that this is different, outside world is different. I am the master of my inner world and I choose how to respond. So the first equation we have to create today, I am the creator of my every thought, feeling, word, and behavior. So even if we've not learned it as kids, we learn it today And most important, we teach it to every student who's going to become a doctor now, because they will teach it to every patient who will come to them. Because what do the doctors teach us nowadays when we go with all our ailments? Either we are stressed and so we got the ailment, or now we are stressed because of the ailment. So what did the doctor teach us? With a tension mat lena, stress mat lena, tension mat lena. Then the patient looks at the doctor and says, Doctor साहब कैसे टेंशन नहीं लेंगे? तो then doctor साहब says, हाँ टेंशन तो नेचुरल है लेकिन आप मत लेना. तो कैसे होगा? कैसे होगा? तो it doesn't convince the patient at all. So if the doctor tells the patient गुस्सा मत कीजिए, and then the patient looks at the doctor and says, डॉक्टर साहब कैसी बात करते हो, गुस्सा तो आएगा ही. तो then डॉक्टर साहब says, because डॉक्टर साहब खुद ही गुस्सा करते हैं, तो डॉक्टर साहब says, हाँ गुस्सा तो आता है लेकिन आप मत करना, आपकी हेल्थ के लिए अच्छा नहीं है. Will not create any result. Will not create result. But if the doctor themselves, if the healer themselves have practiced emotional health principles, they are living a life where all this anger and pain and hurt and stress is hardly ever there, then they will speak with conviction. And their vibration with their conviction, with their advice, will change the life of the patient. So, healers and doctors are the best people to radiate and convince people about emotional health. But for that, they can't talk about it from here. They will have to start living it here. They will have to start living it here, which will be their own protection and healing for so many people. So, we write down the equation, we start practicing it from today itself. I am the creator of my every thought and feeling, word and behavior. So, which means we can't blame the world. I'm feeling like this because of. Even for COVID, from today, let's change the vocabulary. Stress because of COVID. No, stress is not because of COVID. COVID is a physical health issue. So, if I catch the virus, I have fever, I have oxygens up and down, I can have all those things. But I cannot have stress because of the virus. Stress is because of my ability or inability to be able to handle the COVID situation. Vocabulary needs to change. Vocabulary needs to change. Fear because of COVID. No, fear is not because of COVID. Fear is because of my way of thinking. Anxiety is because of my way of thinking. So we have to change this vocabulary repeatedly, again and again, till the mind gets convinced and starts living life that way. So I am the creator of my thought and feeling first. So from now on, we're not going to blame anything outside for how we are feeling. We're not to blame. Even if you get angry, no problem. But don't say I'm angry because of them. ये नहीं बोल सकते. I'm angry because of them. Because that is emotional illness, not taking responsibility. I created the anger. I created the anger. Even as faculty, heads of departments, you have to teach so many students. Some may behave right, some may not behave right, some may behave very indisciplined sometimes. You have to take strict disciplinary action. Strict disciplinary action, but without losing your emotional health. For somebody else's mistake, we should not lose our happiness. It's not worth it. वो उनकी गलती है, नुकसान उनका हो रहा है, उनको ठीक करने के लिए हम अपना नुकसान नहीं कर सकते. We have to change that lifestyle. That's the lifestyle. So then we take disciplinary action, but we don't react. We don't get angry. We don't get agitated. This starts creating a culture in the university itself. So emotional health cannot be taught as a subject. It should be a way of living. It should be a way of living in the house, in the college, in the hospital. We'll all start living it. It doesn't happen in one day. It's a very gentle, gradual journey. But once we start it, it will start happening. It will start happening. And so by the time the children pass out from the college, it would be a part of their personality. They would have lived life like that. It's very simple then for them. So the equation is right. Second thing is, if I am the creator of my emotions, then I need to know which are the healthy emotions and what is unhealthy for me for the mind. So let's create two lists. You know, this side and the opposite side. Two lists: stress, emotional illness, emotional health, calm and stability. Calm and stability. Doesn't matter if I'm getting stressed, but I should know that this is an emotional illness. I should know. I should not call it normal, because if I call it normal, then I live stressed. If I know this is an emotional illness, I know calm and stability is normal, I will shift. I will shift. It's like if I know 100 is fever, I will shift. But if someone comes and tells me 100 is normal, then I will continue at 100 and I will do nothing about it. So, what is normal is extremely important to know for the mind. Now, when all of you taught us to use oximeter, we didn't know which oxygen saturation is normal. So, we would just put it there on the finger. You taught us that 98, 99 is normal. Then you taught us keep breathing, otherwise it will go to 94, 95. Then you taught us that if it goes below 90, you have to go to a doctor. If it goes below 85, you need an ox. These figures were so important. But who gives us these figures? The healthcare industry. The healthcare industry. This is normal. So my whole treatment will happen only based on those figures. Tomorrow, instead of 99, if you tell me 95 is normal, I will live with 99, 95, and I'll do nothing about it. Suppose someone comes and tells me 90 is normal. I will be living on low oxygen saturation, believing it's normal. So that's why the normal definition is very important. So stress is this side, calm and stability is this side. Anger is this side. It's an emotional illness, emotional health. Understanding people, understanding their behaviors, personalities, and ways of working, ways of studying are going to be different. Being respectful while disciplining. Being respectful while disciplining. Third, fear is normal, is what we believed. Fearless, confident is normal. Complaining. How much we as students, I remember how much we can complain in a college. ये ठीक नहीं है, वो ठीक नहीं है, ऐसा होना चाहिए, वैसा होना चाहिए. We'll never feel the world is perfect around us. We even complain so much at home to our parents. ये नहीं है, वैसा नहीं है, वो नहीं है. Complaining is not natural, normal. Gratitude is normal. Gratitude is normal. Shukriya for everything. Shukriya, I am in a medical college. Shukriya, my fortune, my karma, I'm becoming a doctor, I'm becoming a healer. It's going to create my emotional health. If I keep complaining, I'm depleting emotional health. If I keep finding faults, I'm depleting emotional health. I can give feedback. That is fine. Give constructive, suggestive feedback. Complaining is a disturbing energy. Gratitude is healthy. क्रिटिसाइजिंग पीपल, फाइंडिंग फॉल्ट्स इन पीपल, निंदा करते रहना लोगों की, ये ऐसा है, ये ऐसा है, ऐसा. Criticism is not normal. Appreciation and motivation is normal. Comparison with people. Comparison is not normal. Self-respect. Self-respect is normal. So this is a whole list. Even competition is not normal. Even though we were taught in kindergarten, life is a competition. It's not normal. It's one major reason why we are so stressed is because we believe life is a competition. Life is a journey of cooperation, caring, sharing, kindness. That is normal. Caring, sharing everything you know, and cooperating with people. Life is about feeling happy when somebody does well. Jealousy is not normal. Jealousy is a very big illness here, doesn't allow people to sleep properly. So, all these emotions, we need to start calling them emotional illnesses. Half of it will get over only when the world comes to know that this is not normal. आधा खत्म हो जाएगा उसी दिन. This is not normal. So, this is emotional illness. This is emotional health. Once I have the column in my mind very clear that this is emotional health, I start living it in my life. So when I know anger disturbs my mind and my body, then half the time I will not use anger. Because half the time I'm getting angry only because I believe this is a way to get work done. So we will automatically shift towards emotional health. Why do I need to shift towards these emotional health? Because my emotional health is high, then I will never tip over to a mental health issue. So basically, we're taking care of emotional health so that we can be happy always, peaceful always. We don't have to buy something to be happy. We don't have to go out for dinner to be happy. We don't go to a holiday to be happy. We go for a holiday just for a change, not to be happy, because people can go on a holiday also and get stressed and angry. So we need to be very clear what we are doing. Then our emotional health is taken care of, and preventing mental health issues. Preventing mental health issues, and to a large extent, if we lead a good lifestyle, then also preventing physical health issues. So, as healers and doctors, we are ambassadors of health in society. The role of a doctor needs to be changing. A doctor cannot be only the one who's treating an ailment. A doctor should be with the intention of creating a healthy India, where the number of cases are reducing day by day, not going like this exponentially. Exponentially, it's going. Every illness, exponential. So, doctors themselves would need to be ambassadors of health. Ambassadors of health. So, for that, I need to take care of my mind and my body both. If a doctor only has ye bhi bimari, wo bhi bimari, we're not ambassadors of health then. We're only treating people and we're only treating ourselves. So we need to shift. It's not about treatment, it's about health. Two things are very different. Very, very different. Now, how do we start making these emotional health a normal way of living? A very normal way of living. It should come natural to us. So, simple lifestyle principles by which we can energize the emotional health, which we can strengthen our mind. Very big factor is our sleep cycle. Sleep cycle. A lot of students, in fact, I would say most of the students today, have changed their sleep cycle. And this is not in college, they're doing it right from the time they are in school. And many students believe that it's good to study in the night. So they're studying in the night, sleeping in the morning. This is not natural. And this goes against the body clock. This goes against the right time to sleep. There is a time which is best for everything, in which the highest energizing will happen. So the highest energizing time to sleep is 10 to 2, which means at any cost I should be asleep in these 4 hours. If I have to study, I have an exam tomorrow, I wake up at 2 instead of sleeping and instead of studying till 2. You see, you're not going to gain anything. You're only choosing the right time. So instead of studying till 2 and then sleeping at 2, we sleep till 2 and study at 2. Just changing that, because the highest energizing time is sleeping from 10 to 2. Doesn't mean we're sleeping 4 hours. We're sleeping longer than that. But those 4 hours we should be asleep. 10 to 2. Now, if I sleep at 10 o'clock, then for me to wake up by 4 or 5 will come natural. Will come natural. Another thing that a lot of doctors, and which is important, that all doctors are telling everybody, sleep longer. This is not our culture actually. This was not our culture to sleep for 8 hours and 9 hours. Why are we being told repeatedly by doctors to sleep longer? Because the lifestyle is not healthy. The lifestyle is not healthy. The mind is fatigued, so we need longer to sleep to energize. If we slept right, we don't have to sleep longer. So if I only live right and sleep right, I easily get 2 hours more every single day. Every single day, if I live right and I sleep right. So to sleep by 10, by 8, 8:30, I need to disconnect from all kind of media which stimulates the mind. So what is happening today? Till the time we sleep, we are engaged with media. So whether it's news, whether it's TV serials, movies, your OTT platforms, your social media, or we are working. So if we are doing that till the time we sleep, so if I go to sleep by 10 also, but till then I'm doing something like that, then my mind is very turbulent. Very turbulent. This turbulent time, mind takes very long to go into the delta deep sleep stage. Very long. And sometimes it doesn't go into the delta stage only. It doesn't sleep. It doesn't go into the delta stage. It will stay in the alpha theta stage. And that's why so many people today are taking sleeping medicine. Someone's consuming alcohol. Someone is saying, I'm not getting good sleep. Someone is saying, I have insomnia. Someone is saying, I was walking around last night. I was not able to sleep. Why? Because we were in the beta stage at a time when we should have gone to the alpha stage. So the best way to sleep is take your mind from the beta stage to the alpha stage before you go to bed. Before you go to bed. Not be in bed looking at the phone Again, last minute checking everything and then going to sleep in the beta plus stage. That's when we need to sleep longer. We don't need to sleep so long. So 1.5 hour before sleeping, we disconnect from all media which stimulates the mind. You're not going to listen to the news in the night. And yet, all news channels, highest TRP is late night and early morning. Late night and early morning listening to the world news is one of the worst things we can do for the mind. Worst things to fill all our mind with all those visuals and audio. So be very, very careful, very careful. So if we disconnect from all these platforms before we sleep, 15 minutes before we sleep, we consume pure content. Emotional health, dependent on emotional diet, and emotional diet is what we watch, what we read, what we listen. This again needs to be told to every single person who comes to you as a patient or family of a patient. What we watch, what we read, what we listen is who we become here inside. So all our thoughts and feelings are because of what we watch, read, listen. So go 30 years back, no mobiles, no internet, no social media, no OTT platforms, no TVs also 30, 35 years back, no depression. Rarely, rarely, one of those rarest things that used to be there. And stress, we were not using the word in school only because of content consumption. Continuously engaged with technology till the late night, waking up in the middle of the night and again checking emails and messages. Very, very important reason for mental fatigue here, mind getting tired. So, emotional diet will need to be taught by doctors along with physical diet. What we watch, what we read, what we listen, especially to the little children who are watching, reading, listening this now from when they are 2, 3 years old. It will be another epidemic that will come 10, 20 years later when all these little, little children are going to grow up. So we need to be preparing them from now itself that they have to change their lifestyle. They cannot be addicted to technology. It will take a toll on their emotional and mental health. So disconnect, 15 minutes, consume very pure content. Last layer of content on the mind should be very pure, very positive. This is where it is spiritual study or a self transformational book or a positive video or a motivating audio, anything very calming and positive just before going to sleep for at least 15 minutes. This will energize the mind and slow down the mind before we sleep. Before we sleep. As doctors, before you sleep, please release that what you're holding on your mind throughout the day. You may have seen a lot during the day. There could be crisis, you could have seen death, you could have seen someone helpless, so much you could have seen during the day. It gets recorded over here. In normal times, you are trained to handle this. COVID times is different, was different. So people were seeing much more of that in the hospital every single day. Now, if I don't release that in the night before going to sleep, then in my sleep, all those visuals go deep inside, deep inside. And then if it happens every single day, I am consuming that pain, that visual, what's helplessness, that scene, feeling guilty sometimes, feeling helpless sometimes, and I go to sleep with that every single day. It will start taking a toll on my emotional health, and sometimes even more than that. I mean, even more than that. So, just before you sleep, you need to surrender everything to the higher power. What is the meaning of surrender? One, you may get lot of appreciation during the day. डॉक्टर साहब आपने ये ठीक कर दिया, डॉक्टर साहब आपने ये ठीक कर दिया, डॉक्टर साहब आप तो हमारे लिए भगवान हैं. That appreciation has to be surrendered up there. Never consume appreciation. It is very, very important for healers, in fact, for everybody. But never consume appreciation because please remember, we are doctors, we are nurses, we are not destiny makers of anybody. हम किसी का भाग्य नहीं लिख सकते हैं, हम सिर्फ इलाज कर सकते हैं. दो बातों में बहुत फर्क होता है, बहुत फर्क होता है. तो जब कोई आपको कहता है आपकी वजह से हम बच गए एंड आपकी वजह से मेरा ये बच्चा बच गया, do not consume that as reality because it is not the truth. You were only a part of their karma to treating them, to treating them. And so when we get all this appreciation, we have to surrender. परमात्मा आपका शुक्रिया, ये बिल्कुल ठीक हो गए. इनके अच्छे कर्मों का शुक्रिया, ये बिल्कुल ठीक हो गए. So when we get appreciation, surrender, shukriya. Sometimes when things don't go right, sometimes when families don't behave right with us, they blame us for what has gone wrong, even though we had not made a mistake. At that time also, we have to surrender. Your conscience is clear that what you did was right. You put in your best effort. Remember that we are not the cause of anything that went wrong. And we cannot carry the guilt or helplessness or the trauma of that. So in spiritual equations, this is called Ninda Stuti Ek Saman. Ninda Stuti Ek Saman. But for that, I have to be stable when there is stuti, when there is appreciation. So when there is appreciation, surrender. When there is criticism or failure, check my karma was right, my conscience is clear, but it is also about their destiny and surrender. Never carry baggage, never carry any emotional baggage that I was the cause of something. So we have to be very, very careful. This has to be done before going to sleep that day when it happened. It has to be done on a daily basis. So it's good to maintain a little daily journal where we write out all our emotional things of the day and we release them. And just before going to sleep, we say our affirmations, which Dr. Bhageshri shared with us so beautifully. What is affirmation? It is consciously created positive thought. Consciously created high vibrational positive thought. The spiritual equation is Sankalp se Siddhi. Thoughts manifest. Anything we think repeatedly, it will happen. It manifests. So, one is important that we learn meditation, but till we learn meditation, we do our affirmations. So, I'll repeat the affirmations which she had shared. First, I am a powerful being. I am a powerful being. What does it mean I'm powerful? I don't get disturbed when situations and people are not very perfect. I'm powerful. That means good emotional immunity system. I'm a powerful being. Second, I am calm and stable always. Third, I am fearless, especially in the current times, a lot of fear around us. Fourth, I am God's instrument. A healer has to always remember, I am an instrument. I am God's instrument. God uses me as his angel to heal the world. God uses me as his angel to heal the world. My body is perfect and healthy and will always be. In case you have any ailment, choti badi koi bhi bimari, you put it over there in your affirmation. My blood pressure is normal. This is something that we have a lot of doctors who do this with their patients. They tell their patient also to put this as an affirmation. Their mind sends that message to the body. You should try this out in your hospital. It works wonderful. Suppose somebody is getting treated and then there is a complication in there. So we always ask the doctor कि डॉक्टर क्या कॉम्प्लिकेशन है बॉडी में. तो डॉक्टर सेज ये और ये ऐसे ठीक नहीं हो रहा. अच्छा डॉक्टर क्या होना चाहिए. सो डॉक्टर सेज ऐसे चलना चाहिए, ये ऐसे क्रिएट करना चाहिए. Then we tell the patient to create that affirmation. My body is already working and doing that what the doctor wants my body to do. So we put it exactly like that. Exactly. Suppose oxygen is showing 94, then I will put an affirmation there. My oxygen saturation level is 99, but it's nowhere near 99. But I will put that in the affirmation because the mind sends signals to the body. Instead of that, if I keep saying, oh, 94 ho gaya, 94 ho gaya, 94 ho gaya, I start creating anxiety. That adds to my breathlessness, which has already started happening because of the oxygen. So, sending the right information from the mind to the body is very important. So, we put a specific ailment affirmation in case we have one. Otherwise, it's simple. My body is perfect and healthy and will always be. God's power and blessings is a circle of protection around me. Very, very important for everyone to create this, but mandatory for every healer to create this. Mandatory. Because what you are doing, like you wear a PP kit, now what you are wearing is a high vibrational protection shield. Visualize yourself enveloped with divine white light. Lower vibrational energy, because in a hospital, most of the time you're surrounded by a lower vibrational energy. Pain, fear, death, disease, stress. This is lower vibrational energy. It takes a toll sometimes on healers over a period of time. Over a period of time, not when you're new as a doctor. And that's why we hear a lot about stress in doctors and all a lot of other things. Doctors should never get stressed, because even though they're dealing with crisis, all that they have to do is they have to protect themselves with this divine circle of energy. So, God's power and blessings, the highest vibrational divine circle of energy, is my protection shield. This is my Suraksha Kavach. Then draw that circle of protection around your family. We are safe, we are secure. Then draw that circle of protection around your university, your college, your hospital. Everything is perfect, everything is smooth, everyone is healed. We create that affirmation every day for the hospital, because we know anything can happen in a hospital suddenly, any crisis can happen. So everything is perfect, everything is smooth, everyone is healed. It's an affirmation that's created for a hospital every day, and drawing that wide divine circle of protection around the hospital, and then we draw it around the country and the world. So, simple 10 affirmations: I am a powerful being, calm and stable always, fearless, I'm God's instrument, angel of God to heal people, my body is perfect and healthy and will always be. Create a specific one if you have any ailment. Then God's power and blessings is a divine circle of protection around me. It's my Suraksha Kavach. Then we draw it around the family, around the hospital. Everything is perfect, everything is smooth, everyone is healed every day in that affirmation. And then around the country and the world. So, what is affirmation? The thoughts we create on a daily basis and repeat many times in the day, they will become a reality. Anyone can experiment with this. It always works. This is a science of vibrations. This is also a science. It's a science of vibrations, power of affirmation plus visualization. There are a lot of doctors who use the power of affirmation and visualization before they treat people, and before they do a surgery. They visualize the entire surgery. They create that surgery first in their mind, and then they go and create it actually on the body. So, power of affirmation and visualization, which is created to create miracles in the outside world, we use it to create miracles in the inside world. So, these 10 affirmations, we say it just before we go to sleep. The last thought before we sleep has a deep impact on our subconscious, on our personality, and the first thought when we wake up. These two times are very, very important. Last thoughts before we sleep, first thoughts when we wake up. So we say these affirmations just before we are sleeping. Close our eyes, lie down, keep saying them in your mind, fall off to sleep with the highest vibrational energy on your mind. Highest vibrational energy just before you're going to sleep. Your mind is already slowed down, it's already at a very high calming energy, and you will very soon go into the delta stage. Very soon go into the delta stage. And during your 6 hours of sleep, this high vibrational energy and the pure content that you put for 15 minutes before sleeping is what is going to process, and that's the vibration that will go to the mind and the body. So, just 15 minutes before going to sleep, if we take care, we are giving ourselves good sleep, and we're also giving ourselves healing energy for the mind and the body during our sleep. After this way of sleeping, when we wake up in the morning, it's not going to be like, oh, बढ़ गया time, उठने का time हो गया, and getting up like that. No, you will be fresh, vibrant, and energetic, because you've not just slept for the body, the mind has experienced deep, high vibrational sleep. Both have to sleep in the night. So then you will wake up early on your own. The highest vibrational time when we should be awake is between 4 and 5. So if don't worry about the waking up, just take care of the sleeping. Waking up will automatically happen. Today, corporates are talking about the 5 a.m. leadership club. Successful people, they say, should wake up at 5 a.m. Our culture has it for thousands of years. It's called Brahma Muhurat. Brahma Muhurat is 4 to 5 a.m. Amrit Vela, high vibrational time. So sleep early, wake up early. When you wake up, except if you are a doctor, you obviously check your phone immediately. But for the rest of us, at least for an hour, we don't check anything on our phones, which means we don't go through our emails, messages, world news, all this in the first hour of the morning. Even if we just pick up and 5 minutes scroll like this, it's gone on to the blotting paper. It's gone on to the blotting paper, which is the mind. So we don't do that first thing in the morning. First thoughts when we wake up are of gratitude. They are of gratitude. So, first thoughts of gratitude to God. Two, gratitude to the mind and body. Three, gratitude to all the people in my life. Fourth, gratitude to my work. And fifth, gratitude to nature. 5 thoughts of gratitude. After gratitude, then we repeat our affirmations, same 10 affirmations. We repeat when we wake up and we say them at least 5 times gently and visualize them till you learn meditation. Once you've learned meditation, then you start doing meditation. So we repeat those affirmations at least 5 times gently and we visualize them. Then at least 20 minutes, and this should be compulsory for all of us, at least 20 minutes of consuming a pure diet for the mind. Again, the same thing which was in the night, 10 minutes before sleeping. Healthy emotional diet, spiritual study, self transformation book, video, audio, which is very pure and positive. Every word should be positive in that. Then half an hour, of course, for our body, half an hour for the mind, 1 hour, and we have energized the mind and body. Now, nobody can say, I don't have time for this, because saying that I don't have time for this means going out into the world without protecting your mind and body. And when you start taking out this time, you're actually going to have more time during the day. So we're taking care in the night, we're taking care in the morning before we set off for the day. Then during the day, we're taking care of how we are responding to every scene. So we don't use anger because it depletes emotional health. We don't criticize people. We don't talk behind people's back. We don't say, ये ऐसा है, वो वैसा है, वो भी ऐसा है, वो भी ऐसा है. It's the easiest way to deplete our energy. Critical and judgmental thinking about other people. Don't speak about people. If you have something, go and say it to them. Don't go and talk about it to other people. And don't listen about people also. So if someone's coming and gossiping about people, don't listen. It's like consuming emotional infection. Tell them इनके बारे में कुछ अच्छी बात करते हैं हम. So shift people towards qualities, not just talking about weaknesses. Very simple habits. Then every time we have a meal, for a good emotional health, experiment with a vegetarian diet. With the vegetarian diet. Again, it's very, very important for our doctors to come out and tell the world vegetarian is healthy. But for that, you'll have to experiment it on yourself. Experiment, experience, and openly talk to the world about it. Because a large part of society, especially in India, we see a large part of society is having non-vegetarian only because they are saying, but doctor बोलते हैं ना ये healthy होता है तो इसलिए खाना है. So it's just one reason they have given to themselves. Whereas we're living in times where a lot of doctors are openly talking about the benefits of vegetarian diet, about the harms of a non-vegetarian diet, about what it does for diabetics, for heart issues, for certain cancers. So we need to openly come and talk about it. But vibrations of a non-vegetarian diet. It's a vibration of fear, anxiety, hatred and helplessness, and violence and death. Violence and death. So the energy of death cannot give energy of life to anybody. It can give proteins, and we have to be very clear when we tell them this. This can give you proteins, but it's the energy of death. It's not the energy of health. So energy of health is needed to give energy of health. So we experiment with the vegetarian diet, and in the kitchen, in your kitchen at home, and in the kitchen in the university, and very important in the kitchen of the hospital. We need to have high vibrational energy where the food is being cooked, because we are what we eat. Jaisa an, वैसा मन, जैसा पानी, वैसी वाणी. These are principles. Let's use them to strengthen our mind. The vibrations of the food and the vibrations of the water. Please go online today and search effect of emotions on water, and you will see pictures of water crystals. And we have experimented with these water crystal formation based on the emotions and the words given to that sample of water. So that is why when food was cooked with high energy, it's called prasad. And when water is taken here and a mantra is put in it, it's called amrit. So now we need to use that power for all our food and water. So in the kitchen, and please definitely do this in the hospital kitchen and definitely at home also, have high energy words playing in the kitchen, which means have spiritual songs, bhajan, mantra, puja, prayer, whatever everybody likes, play it in the kitchen. Let it just go there very softly in the background. Let it play in the kitchen. It will be energizing everything that is being cooked. Minds of people will get healed. People's body will heal faster. People will go home faster if they are eating high vibrational food, because then they're not eating stress vibrational food. So play that in the kitchen and just before eating. And please do this for yourself definitely. Just before eating, no phone, no TV while eating. Make it a culture at home. Mindful eating practices. Mindful, and this has to be told to every patient, because a lot of their diseases are only because of these simple lifestyle habits which have gone wrong. And what we are hearing today, nothing new. Nothing new. We all know this. We were taught this. We're not living it. Many of us are not living it. Some of us are living it. So no phone, no TV while eating. Teach this to everybody. Teach it to every child. Nowadays, on the dining table with the plate, they put a little screen for the child. You watch your video game or you watch your cartoon show and you eat. Distracted eating, and that too from childhood, heavy toll it will take for the person's personality. So we need to tell them this. Doctors will have to tell people this. Then they will listen. So we will have to practice it ourselves. So no phone, no TV while eating. Just before we begin eating, we take a 5-second pause, gratitude to God, and then say your affirmation into the food. If you want your affirmation to manifest faster, if you want it to become your reality, energize your food with those powerful thoughts. I'm powerful, I'm calm, stable, I'm fearless, I'm healthy, divine, and add any affirmation you want to it. You can put whichever affirmation, anything you want to manifest in your life, put it in an affirmation. The vocabulary is I am already that. Not I want to be peaceful. I am peaceful. Not I want to be happy. I am happy. As students, we can put my concentration is highest. I am focused. Success is certain for me. So put those affirmations and radiate that into your food. 5 seconds only. You want to make it manifest even faster? Radiate in your every glass of water. So 5 seconds of pause before drinking our water. And if you drink tea, coffee, then you put it in that also. Apart from that, we should not be drinking anything which is not healthy. And as doctors, talk openly about it in society. Talk about it openly in society. Talk till everybody understands it. So, this little lifestyle habit, repeating our affirmations just before we go to sleep, saying them just when we wake up, and then saying them before every meal and before every glass of water, the food and the water absorbs high energy. Right now, the food and the water also is carrying fear and anxiety because it's in the air. The water of the city has fear and anxiety because all of you will always, for the rest of your life, be working in a hospital. Hospital's energy always has pain and strife. Always. So, because you're going to eat in a hospital every day, because you're going to drink your water in a hospital every day, please, this is a protection. Please go get into this habit before you even start working in a hospital. energize your every meal and your water 5 seconds. Like you keep sanitizing your hands repeatedly in the hospital, you have to keep repeatedly sanitizing your mind. Sanitizing your mind. Then you will be a healer, you will be a doctor, but not stressed and anxious. Not ever, because you are sanitizing your mind on a regular basis during the day. So emotional health is taken care of. And as doctors who are going to become doctors, not yet doctors, it's very important right from college time to learn the power of ethics in life, because we're living in society where we don't have very clear demarcation what is ethical, what is not. Again, the normal definition is not clear. So because we see a lot of people doing certain things, majority could sometimes be doing a certain thing, if it is not ethical, and choose your own definition of ethical. So, the more you are living a life of values, principles, and ethics, your emotional health will be stronger. That's certain, because these are self discipline tools. These are our circle of Maryada. This always keeps our mind very, very powerful. So, which is very important for your own protection and for radiating healing energy to everyone you connect with during the day, whether it's your patients, their families, or whether it's those who are working with you, your nurses, your staff, everybody. Nurses generally don't like it when doctors get angry, because they work very hard during the day, and doctors sometimes get angry with them for mistakes. We need to realize it's a depletion of energy. It depletes their energy. So we need to be more compassionate. And for that, we take care of our emotional health. So these are just simple lifestyle habits. And whenever everything is okay, do come to the Brahma Kumari's Rajyog Meditation Center, which is very close to you, and start learning meditation. Meditation will be one of the things which everyone will need to learn now gradually, so that whenever there's a crisis, the crisis is only outside and we are calm and stable inside and better equipped to handle a crisis. Thank you so much. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti Didi. Can we have a few questions from the audience? Already in chat box it is there.
Sure.
Anybody wants to ask? Otherwise, I'll go through the questions in the chat box.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question. Can I ask?
Please go ahead.
Sister, I am Dr. Sharma. I am the Dean of the Homeopathy College. And I have a question that we're talking about emotional intelligence. So should emotional intelligence be assessed when we are interviewing new candidates for teaching jobs in colleges? And should they be assessed for yearly appraisals also? And my one other part of the question was that how do you handle people in the staff and the students who we feel are low on EQ or emotional intelligence?
Yeah. Evaluating emotional health is not really very simple actually, but it should be monitored definitely, because it is not evaluated based on how I speak or behave. It's about what I'm inside, and unless I tell you what I'm inside, you wouldn't know. So the person has to be very honest in their talking. Suppose I am creating critical thoughts about you right now. I am criticizing you. I might not tell you, but criticism is not emotional health inside. So people will have to be very honest in their talking about that. But yes, we should be able to evaluate. And based on evaluation of that, we groom them towards better emotional health, because emotional health is not something that, okay, if this is my emotional health, it can't change. That's a very wonderful thing. So it's not that if I'm here, then I will remain here. It is something which can go very high, very, very high. So once we evaluate, we only use it so that we empower them. So we empower them towards better emotional health, better emotional principles of living, so that they are happy, in charge, and they create a very happy energy where they are working. So if we start talking about it, and if everyone is aware of it, it will be one of the things that will become very normal in our lives. And most important, we will start talking to children at a very young age. It's very important for children at a very young age so that by the next generation, we don't have to talk about it. It'll just be one thing which is groomed and created with us.
Thank you, sister. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Didi. There is a question in the chat
Yes,
box.
yes, ma'am. I'm Dr. Bhalkar. I'm Dean of Dr. Medical D.Y. Patil Medical College. Sister, you have given 10 affirmations. Thankful to you, sister. Still, I have. There is one scenario where the young resident is facing a mob of 50 to 100 people, where there is death or some mishap has happened. So your message and blessings for those residents, ma'am, who are really facing as frontline workers. So your any advice to these residents, young doctors who can handle the situation of violence?
When we know that whenever there's a situation of violence, it's not something that we can do that time, right? Obviously, what's happened is absolutely incorrect. But when it happens, is because the person on the other side has completely lost their emotional health. Why? Why did they lose it at that time? Because they were not on very good emotional health. Not on very good emotional health. So even though after they have made a mistake, and even though I know you will take an action against them, there will be a legal complaint, everything is done. But yet at the same time, those people who did it, the one with who it has happened, of course, it's not a right thing. But those who did it also, they require a lot of healing, because you really have to be very, 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 very disturbed in your mind to be able to go completely out of control. Someone going completely out of control over their body means they have really, really not taken care of their mind. So along with taking whatever action needs to be taken, with that there is also compassion and healing that is needed for these people, so that they will never ever do something like this again. They will start taking care of the mind. If we only take a legal action but we don't take care of their mind, we are only leaving it open for them to doing anything again. And of course, when it happens with somebody, yes, physically they get very hurt, physically they are injured. So how to protect them, I'm sure you're already taking care of that. But they in their mind have to take care that don't start doubting the profession that you have chosen. Don't start hating society for it, because that's something which starts settling in, that we work so hard. Is this what society is going to treat us with? Is this what is going to happen? Well, no, this is not what's going to happen. This happens once in a while. The rest, so let's say out of 100 times, once someone will do like this, the remaining 99 people always fall at your feet and are full of love and gratitude for you, because you are in such a fortunate profession. Such a fortunate profession. So if 99 people are blessing you, are radiating unconditional love and support to you, they are literally praying and meditating for you every single day at home, especially in this year, then you have chosen the best profession. And it's your fortune to be in this profession. So physical protection, yes, but never fill yourself with doubt for your profession, and never hatred for society, because it's that same society which radiates love and blessings to you on a daily basis. And for the person who does it, even for them, don't hold it as hatred. Have mercy on the person. These people need mercy, not hatred. Mercy, because they are completely emotionally, we can say, unwell. Emotionally unwell. So in your mind, don't hold any negative energy for anybody. Physical protection, I'm sure your hospital provides you with the best thing.
Om Shanti. Thank you.
There is a question from Dr. Safia. How does one obtain true peace? Madam Aditi?
Yes, how does one obtain true peace? By
Yes.
living throughout the day in a peaceful manner. That's the only way to create peace. If I live throughout the day getting angry and irritated, I cannot obtain peace by going anywhere, going to the hills, going to the seashore. I won't experience it. Peace is our nature. When we say Om Shanti, the meaning of Om Shanti is I am a peaceful soul. Om means Aham Atma Shanti. Shanti is our sanskar. So Shanti basically is emotional health. So like physically, health is natural, but when we don't take care, we manifest disease. Similarly, peace is natural. Peace is our natural way of being. Not taken care of, we manifest stress. So if we take care of our mind on the daily basis, during the day, we handle every situation peacefully, which means we are using the sanskar of peace, then we will experience peace always. We will experience peace always. We have to use that sanskar to experience it. It's not going to be available anywhere outside. We can go somewhere which is very peaceful. We will feel peaceful in that energy, but when we come back home, we will still be ourselves. We can't bring peace from somewhere else. Peace is our nature. Meditate and study spirituality every day, which means take a good diet and exercise for the mind and live peacefully. And most important, highest values and principles and ethics. Highest. That increases our willpower. Even if you're the only one and everyone is against you, use the highest values, principles, and ethics. That increases spiritual power. That increases spiritual power. It's big strength, even if you're alone. So self-discipline, sanyam and niyam increases willpower, and that will allow you to use your sanskar of peace always.
Thank you, Didi. Can we take one or two more which are there in the...
Can I ask, madam?
Yes, Dr. Evla.
I also wanted to ask.
Thank you, Shivani Didi, for a wonderful guidance regarding the emotional health as well as emotional balance. So these are the three factors, actually: the psychological health, spiritual health, and emotional health. And this is very nicely covered. I have one point, because you spoke about the sleep, and I am a dean of Ayurveda Institute of Dr. D.Y. Patil College. So in Ayurveda, it is very nicely mentioned about the Samajagrana Swapnam. This is coming under, means you have to take rest as well as you have to sleep, and there should be a balance.
Send it immediately, yes.
And that is under the heading of Achara Rasayan in Charak Sanhita, means the behavioral pattern, you can say. Here, there is one important thing regarding the sleep, that 1 or 1.5 hours before, you have to keep the darkness in your room where you are going to sleep, or in your, you can say, the residential place. That is also important, because it has a connection with the melatonin secretions.
Yes.
And that requires almost 90 minutes to get secreted properly, so that you will get a proper sleep.
True.
So I would like your comment on that also.
That definitely, like you said, again, such a powerful tool to start preparing us for sleep, no? So that's the whole idea, to create that before we go to sleep, not after we lie down, then it should get secreted. So all these things, if people can create that darkness in their rooms 90 minutes before sleeping, it's amazing. They're going to have even deeper sleep. That's why, but see, what about people who are using screens before sleeping? So leave alone melatonin, they're taking their mind and brain into a hyperactivity. So let's start one step at a time. I think we are going to reach and cover all these things which were really a part of our lifestyle. We left them. We just need to pick them up again. That before we go to sleep, we should be in a phase of sleeping. So we go into that alpha stage. You said swapnam, so that is alpha stage. It is the dream stage. So we will moving towards the alpha stage before we lie down. All preferable. Everything possible, dim lights, reading, music, writing, not in any argument with anybody, not problem discussion. Lot of things have to be taken care of for 90 minutes before sleeping. So thank you so much for sharing this. I will also start using this principle.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Chief.
Ma'am, can I ask a question, please? Swami, madam.
Madam, I have to ask also.
Can I go ahead, ma'am?
Yes, Dr. Payal.
Yeah. Ma'am, thank you for your wonderful thoughts and sharing. I have a very specific question. I look after the professional development and faculty development over here. I'm a medical professional myself. So a lot of our work is related around behavior change, and a lot of what you have said is going to help us with that when we do it on a regular basis. So a common behavior which I find is that we tend to complain and we tend to complain either vocally to somebody or in our own mind. We have whole complaining kind of thoughts in our mind many times, and it's usually because we cannot express that thing, the whatever thoughts we have about that person to the person themselves. instead we choose the easier path of going and saying it out in front of another person. So can you guide us how to deal with this? A general principle which all of us, I think it's a common thing which many of us will.
One is that when we are in a role where we can give a feedback. Suppose I'm a student and you're my faculty member. I may not find you perfect according to what I think is a definition of a perfect faculty. I could have some perception, but I can't walk up to you and say that to you like that. It's not right. It's not respectful. It will break all maryadas. It will break all self-disciplines, and we will just go and say all sorts of things to everybody. So I cannot. Similarly, I may not be able to go and say it to many other elders. Similarly, I cannot also go up to my friends and keep telling them every time that I don't like this about you or I don't like that about you, because it's not really about the other person. It's about my perception about the other person. It's about my way of thinking. So my mind is finding complaints because my mind doesn't find people or situations as perfect, because I am trained to believing that people should be my way for my happiness. So when we start empowering ourselves on a daily basis, our ability to accept people, this is all about expectations actually. So expectations, when I create complaints, the ability to accept people increases because I understand every mind is different, every sanskar is different, everyone's behavior is different, and relationships means we will be together, whether it's in family or at work. We will have different sanskars, but we will adjust and adapt. That is getting along in relationships. When there is something unethical, then we will go and give feedback, or we will even make a complaint. If it's unethical, not just when it is some different sanskar which is not matching mine. So we as a society need to be building up our levels to be able to adapt and adjust with people. But since the time we got social media, it became even easier to write our complaints because we can just pick up and just write about anybody. Like what's happening now in hospitals, how patients just stand outside the hospital and pick up their phone and say, oh, this happened, that happened. This is all not healthy for their own minds. That is the problem. It's not going to be healthy for their own selves, because instead of using their power to adapt, they're only saying complaints. And this only allows us to live like a victim. Okay, the world is not good, and so I am not happy, and I keep living like a victim in my life. I keep living like a victim. My parents are not good, my teachers are not good, tomorrow my spouse is not good. I will live like a victim for the rest of my life. So the power to adapt and adjust with people and talk only when something is unethical, not a different sanskar. Different sanskar is a natural thing. Even twins have different sanskars. They are identical looking, born to the same parents, going to the same school, living in the same environment. Sanskars are different. So that is natural for sanskars to be different.
Thank you, Didi. One more question from Dr. Rohini Somnath Patil. Is there any connection between emotional health and karma?
Oh, yes, definitely. Karma is our every thought, word, and behavior. That is karma, which means energy that I create and send out into the world. Every thought, word, and behavior. So if I have good emotional health, I will be creating right thoughts, speaking the right way, and behaving the right manner. So my karma becomes right if I'm emotionally healthy. Like we just spoke, that people can actually come and hit a doctor. So wrong karma, right? Illegal karma, not just a wrong karma. That's an illegal karma. But why did this happen? Because a person lost control over their mind at that moment. At that moment, they had not planned to come and do that. But at that moment, they lost control over their mind. So it's not just a wrong karma, it's an illegal karma. So that's where our mind can take us if we lose control over ourselves.
Thank you. How to build
Dr. Narendra wanted.
Narendra Kadu.
Didi, I am Dr. Narendra Kadu. I have one question. Emotion is always related to mind and it is always related to brain. When emotion hurt, so whether brain will control the emotion or mind will control the emotion?
Emotion is created by the mind. In spiritual language, we say emotion is created by the soul, but in mental health language, we say emotion is created by the mind, and then the mind sends the signal to the brain. So even a simple thing like, I am thirsty, I want to drink water. I create this thought, I am thirsty, I want to drink water. That signal will go to the brain, and then my brain will say, and then my hand will go and pick up that glass of water. So it's not coming from the brain to the mind, it's going from the mind to the brain and from the brain to the body. So we visualize it like the brain is like the computer. Computer is connected to the machinery. Machinery is the body. The operator of the computer is the mind. It's that soul. So the operator gives the instruction, brain comprehends it, give the instruction to the machine, machine starts working. So mind, brain, body.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we take one more question, Didi? One more is
Hanji. Yeah, definitely.
How to build emotional quotient in children and adolescents? This is from Dr. Shailaja Mane, pediatrician.
Yes, very true. But the easiest way to do it is to, parents to start doing it. Parents should start doing it. At the Brahma Kumaris, we have a very interesting project which is called Garab Sanskar. So we are talking about emotional health in the womb of the mother, because that's where the seed is laid. A lot of the personality that we will see for the rest of our life was actually created during the 9 months in the womb of the mother. So when we hear the story of Abhimanyu, that Abhimanyu learned that in the womb of the mother, it's actually we all learn a lot in the womb of a mother. So Garab Sanskar is a very powerful thing. So we're giving the Sanskar in the Garab. So if emotional health principles are taught to expecting parents, so what they watch, what they read, what they listen, what they eat, what they drink. Again, go to all the issues that are happening in young children, all the ADHD, hyperactivity. Why it has increased? Because young parents, again, content, media, technology exposure throughout those 9 months. So gone the era when the mothers were said, अच्छी अच्छी photo देखो, अच्छी अच्छी picture देखो, आराम से बैठो. So that phase of pregnancy is over. No, now it's a very different energy. So all that we are watching, reading, listening, eating, drinking during those 9 months is putting the seed of emotional health in the child for a long time. So if during those 9 months, parents are meditating, doing yoga, pranayam, taking care of what they speak, what they listen, what music they are listening, what movies they are watching, what books they are reading, keeping themselves away from the world news, eating vegetarian food. So if they take care of these emotional health principles, a lot of effort for the child is already taken care of. That's the easiest time where you can put it inside them without having to make an effort. First 1,000 days. So like you talk about the first 1,000 days for physical health of a child, first 1,000 days for emotional health of a child. But during those first 1,000 days, if the child is surrounded by news and shouting and screaming and parents stressed, because we are also living in an era where most mothers are working. So working is not a problem, but along with working, all the stress that they are creating at work, all the gossip, the this, pulling down somebody, jealous of someone, all those emotions they are creating while they are carrying a child in the womb. So, like sometimes children are born physically not very fit, sometimes children are born emotionally not very fit. Emotionally not very, because during those 9 months they consumed a lot of fear and trauma or jealousy. So 9 months and the first 1,000 days window is a very powerful time to put emotional health seeds into the child. And then as the child is growing up, it's about the culture of the house. It's about the culture of the house. It's about the nature of the parent. Parent has a deep impact on emotional health of the child. Even when a child is 20 or 30, we have seen if the parent starts changing their lifestyle and their ways of eating and living, and then that little change starts happening at home, children change. Children change. So that's the impact. That connection is very deep, parent-child. So change in parent, easy to bring about change in children.
Thank you so much, Didi, for your wonderful session. Can we have a short session of meditation, please?
Yes.
Just one more question, if permissible.
Hanji, Dr. Tushar.
I'm Dr. Tushar Palekar. I am the principal from the D.Y. Patil College of Physiotherapy. In this pandemic, as the Honorable Chancellor Madam also said, and Dr. Vatsala Madam also said, during this pandemic, we have children who are now virtually being online teaching, learning, blended kind of a learning, and offline is continuously going on in some way or the other. But there are situations that the attention deficit is being observed in children. They keep running away from the virtual mode of classes, and they are more hyperactive in a different mode. So rightly you have put up about the ADHD matter also, but still, how do you think we should control the behaviors of people, and we should also not get affected by those kind of behaviors shown by people
True.
or students?
Yes, very true. But isn't, Dr. Tushar, if we think about it, isn't it very natural that a child sitting in front of a screen, leave alone a child, let's look at us as adults, okay? So I can tell you from my experience of doing webinars every single day, if I was doing the same session in a hall or in an auditorium, so where we are all sitting there together in a hall, so everyone's attention would be like this, right? So we would all be engaged in the session. Nobody would look here, there. Nobody would be doing that. Nobody would take out the phone in the middle of a session. So 1.5 hour, we would be like this. But now that we're doing the same thing online, people are doing a lot of things along with listening to the session going on over there. So we are also doing it. I think it's a natural thing, way of responding, unless a person is very conscious. So to expect children, because they are doing it for more than a year now, every single day for so many hours. We do one webinar once a day or maybe once in a week, and yet we are not focused. Yet we are not concentrated. We're looking here, there, we're checking our phones, we're checking something, we're doing everything, and we're listening to the webinar. They are doing 6 hours every day for over a year. And they are children, so for them to remain concentrated, focused, and not look here and there, I don't think many children would be able to do it for 6-7 hours on a daily basis. So one is, we need to understand, and this is probably not going to convert into an issue for them. I'm sure when they go to school, they will sit back very concentrated and focused like they used to sit even before. What we can take care is that this is a part of their life for probably another few months, but at least the parents can start doing some energizing things with the children on a daily basis. So, you do yoga with the child every day, do little meditation for 5 minutes with the child every day, give them pure content without screens every day. So if we just balance that with some healthy habits, it will take care of the mind, brain, and the body. This is also a time where children are building up a lot of emotional resilience skills, actually, because for the first time, their life is not their way. Today's children are so used to having life their way, everything their way. So this is going to emerge a lot of good life skills from them. They're doing a lot of seva. They are doing a lot of things with their parents, which they were not doing. Many of them are going in the kitchen. Many of them are doing gardening. So there have been a lot of wonderful things that the children are also doing. We just need to take care of their lifestyle habits. And most important in children, not to eat with screens. Not to eat with screens. That's a very deep lifestyle habit which needs to be ingrained by the parents into the children. But the parent will have to do it first. They can't tell the children don't sit in front of the TV and then they are talking on the phone. So a lot comes from the parent to the child, I think. Thank you. So let's just sit. Hanji, doctor.
Namaste, Didi. Just a short question. I'm Dr. Gopal Krishnan, Dean of the Dental College. This pandemic, one common thing is we discussed in a different form, way a question was asked. There's a lot of peer pressure for the children, that is, who come. And that seems to have a disconnect with, the regular functioning. So any tips for this mainly question for the students, the children, like how do they handle the peer pressure?
Peer pressure during COVID, you mean?
Yes, during COVID and non-COVID also, in general, I mean.
Okay, peer pressure during COVID would mean something like?
Like what Dr. Palekar has said, they had, they tried to run away from the virtual classes. And then they tried for a reason how they can avoid that. Then they're confused. We don't blame them, but because they are not used to it, and so that is one thing. And and when a group of students try to do this, the others also try to follow.
Yeah, that is peer pressure. Yeah, that was there even before COVID, I think. Because
Yes. So in general,
yes,
ma'am, your tips, ma'am, that would help. Thank you.
peer pressure is something which, again, let's start it with the parents. It's very important. Everything the parent has to do first. You know how parents ingrain peer pressure in children? Because we keep comparing our children to other children. Even in a little kid coming from school with their exam, kaisa hua exam? How was your exam? It was good. What about everybody else's? How was everyone else's exam? No relevance at all to the child's life, no relevance at all to the performance versus the effort versus the capacity of the child. But we keep comparing them to other children. We keep comparing them to their siblings. Look at your brother, he's able to do this. Look at your sister, she's able. This seed of comparison we sow very deep, very deep. And we do that even when they are kids. When did they first start walking? When did they first speak the first word? You, as doctors, tell us it's always different for every child, but as parents, they tend to compare it with other children. They also have other people coming and telling them, oh, your child is so slow. Oh, your child has not. So, because we don't take people as individuals, we're always comparing them with someone or the other. Very deep seed. One is comparison, and the second is appreciating people only for performance. You know, when a child sings, says a poem, dances, shows a painting, which is very good, but we have to say you danced well, you sang well, you painted well. We said you're a good boy, you're a good girl. So, deprogramming that performance is equal to me being a good person. So, self respect got dependent on performance. So, then when I come into the world as a student or as a growing up adult, I tend to compare myself with other people. And when I'm comparing myself with other people, I want other people to accept me. I want to be accepted by people. And then I tend to do things which I know are not right for me, but because everyone around me is doing it, because I was not taught as a child, even if you're the only one in the world, if you're doing something right, you are right. You are right, even if you're the only person in the world. Because I was always taught, but they are not doing, they are not doing, they are doing, so why are you doing? What will people say about you? So, lot of programming comes from our adults to us when we are kids. So, but even if we've been programmed that way, now we can change our programming, that I am who I am, and I need to know what is right for me, what is ethical for me, most important, what is healthy for me. Even simple things like sleep in the night, study in the morning. A lot of students are doing it only because the other children are doing it. See how it becomes. Everyone else is doing it. If some friends are on social media, everybody else wants to be on social media. Even though in school life, nobody should be on social media. That's for sure. They have all their friends with them. But it's because we were taught that way. So conditioning will need to change from parental thing. One is no performance equation to people's personality, so self respect of the child. And second, never compare your child with any other child, not even with a twin. Don't compare your child even with a twin, because each one is different. So only talk to them in reference to them, in reference to their capacity, and focus on sanskars more than performances. Success is based on who the person is, not on what the person has achieved. Then the child is growing up emotionally stronger. Only an emotionally healthy, very healthy person will be able to withstand peer pressure.
Correct.
Thank
Thank you
you,
very much,
Didi.
Didi. Thank you, Didi.
Thank you. Before we proceed with meditation, Didi, one question from a woman, because we talk of women empowerment. Why do only females have to bear the brunt in the family? Why not males?
Bear the brunt of.
Need to adjust rather. Why they need to adjust?
No, but who said only women are adjusting in family? Everyone has to adjust.
This
This
was
is
the
not
question
true. Not.
sent. Okay.
No. This is not true. Everyone has to adjust. If you adjust with your husband also adjusts a lot with you. Adjustment is not about what we are doing. Adjustment is how we are adjusting our mind with different sanskars. So when two people get married, they're two different set of sanskars, two different ways of thinking. Both have to adjust with each other. If one person adjusts, there will always be conflict on a daily basis. Both adjust, and that's why there's harmony in relationship. Maybe you're working something more than your spouse. That is different, but that's not adjustment. That's your role and responsibility, which people might help you. Sometimes people might not help you, but they are all adjusting with each other. So we should not live like, oh, I'm the only one adjusting. That's not true. And most important, never be a victim. If you're working more, but then you have the strength to work more, it's only going to build up your stamina. You can request people to help you when you need it, but otherwise, if you're not able to do it, don't do it for a day. But don't create this thought in your mind that I am a victim, I am having to face all this, because this depletes emotional health. Don't deplete your emotional health when you're working for your family. You're doing it because you love your relationships. You're choosing to do it actually. Those who don't choose to do it, they just sit back and say, I can't do anything more than this. It's always a choice that we are making. But adjustment, both of us are doing. That's for certain. All of us are adjusting with each other.
Thank you so much. With that, we conclude the question answer session, Didi. Can we start our meditation?
Let's just take a minute of silence because I have another session. So we'll just take a minute of silence and just revise our thoughts there. Visualize yourself in the center of the forehead, the energy, a tiny point of light. I am a powerful being. I'm calm and stable in every situation. Visualize this to keep seeing the scene. Calm and stable in every situation. People may not be my way, situations sometimes are different. I take charge of myself and then take charge of the situation. I'm calm and stable always. I am a healer. I don't just treat the body, I heal the mind. I heal by keeping myself calm and peaceful. Visualize your vibrations are radiating to everyone. Even when you meet someone, when you hold their hand, even when you check their pulse. So touch or no touch, but your vibration is radiating to each one who comes to meet you. My positivity and my peace and calm is healing their mind even before treatment begins. Each one feels better after meeting me. So visualize every patient walking out of your room feeling better even before they've taken the first medicine, because they're feeling good in their mind after meeting you. This is healing. Now their body will respond better to the treatment because the mind is happier. I am a healer. I'm an angel of God. He uses me to heal everyone. And now visualize that Surakshat Kavach, divine white circle of energy around me. God's power and blessings, divine circle of energy around me, aura of white light. I am safe, I am secure, and I radiate this pure energy to all. Please wear this Suraksha Kavach every morning. Every morning. This will not just protect you from vibrations, it will also protect you from people's behaviors. It's the same like you wear a PPE kit to protect from the virus. And then wear it again. Every meal say this line. God's power and blessings is a divine circle of protection around me. So you're enveloping yourself with high vibrational energy. low vibration doesn't enter, does not enter. Thank you so much. Om Shanti. Thank you. Shanti.